Have you ever been asked the simple question, "How was your day?" and found yourself replying with a single word like good or busy? You know the vocabulary, you understand the grammar, but when it comes to telling the simple, elegant story of your own life, the words just don't seem to flow. Today, we are going to change that permanently. Hello, everyone. I am Elena, and a very warm welcome back to English in Moments, the channel where we don't just teach you English, we empower you to live in it. This is not just another lesson. This is a complete masterclass in the art of daily narration. We are about to embark on an immersive journey together, a narrative walkthrough of an entire day, from the first conscious thought at sunrise to the final moments before sleep. You will learn to command the rhythm of natural speech, to weave simple actions into compelling stories, and to express your unique feelings and experiences with precision and personality. Our goal today is profound: to help you break free from translation in your head and begin thinking, feeling, and storytelling directly and spontaneously in English. By the end of our time together, you won't just know how to describe your day, you will possess the unshakable confidence to share your life's narrative fluently and authentically. This session has been meticulously crafted for every stage of your journey. Whether you are laying the first bricks of your English foundation or polishing the finer details of your fluency, our blend of deep listening, active speaking, and sentence shadowing exercises will elevate your skills. To ensure you continue on this path of transformation with us, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell. Our daily lessons are designed to create unstoppable momentum in your learning. So now I invite you to silence any distractions, take a deep, focused breath, and prepare to not just watch, but to actively participate. This is your time to transform. Let's begin. When you wake up in the morning, the very first words you can say are simple but powerful. You can start with a new advanced example like, "My day commences at 6:30 a.m." or "I'm accustomed to waking up before sunrise." If you want to sound more natural, you can distinguish between waking and rising. "My alarm went off at 6:30, but I didn't get out of bed until 7." Notice the difference. Wake up means when your eyes open, and get up means when you leave the bed. Many English learners mix these up, but now you know how to use them. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. My day commences at 6:30 a.m. I didn't get out of bed until 7 a.m. I'm accustomed to waking up early. Good. Try to say it again, but this time imagine your own real routine. If you normally wake up later, adjust the time. If you enjoy slower mornings on weekends, say, "On weekends, I prefer to wake up naturally without an alarm." This way, the phrases connect to your life and you remember them more easily. Let's have a quick grammar focus on adverbs of frequency. Words like always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never are crucial for describing routines. A common mistake is placing them incorrectly. Remember, they usually go before the main verb. For example, "I usually meditate in the morning," or "I rarely skip breakfast." However, they go after the verb to be. For example, "I am always busy on Mondays." Practice this now. Create a sentence about your morning using usually and another one using sometimes. After waking up, many people talk about how they feel. You can use new examples like, "I felt quite groggy when my alarm rang," or I woke up feeling completely refreshed and ready to tackle the day. Another natural way is I was still in a bit of a daze, or I was feeling particularly energetic this morning. These expressions describe your mood and energy when the day begins. Let's practice. I felt quite groggy when my alarm rang. I was still in a bit of a daze. I was feeling particularly energetic this morning. Repeat them slowly and then a little faster to train your fluency. Now imagine you are telling someone about your morning routine in English. You can start with a new connected sentence. After waking up, the first thing I did was some light stretching, followed by my usual morning routine. That is a more advanced and natural description. If you want to add more detail, you can say, I made a point of waking up at 6 a.m. because I wanted to get a head start on my work. Or I woke up early so that I could enjoy a quiet cup of coffee before anyone else was awake. See how adding a reason makes your English sound more advanced and complete? Here's a little exercise for you. Think of 3 things you normally do right after waking up. Maybe it's meditating, preparing your clothes, or reviewing your schedule. Now describe them in English in one long sentence. For example, upon waking, I typically meditate for 10 minutes, review my daily schedule, and then head to the kitchen for some water. Try it now with your own activities. After describing waking up, let's move to the next part of the morning, freshening up. Some new advanced examples are I went through my morning skincare routine, and I took a quick, invigorating shower to wake myself up. To sound more advanced, you can add descriptive adverbs. For example, I meticulously brushed my teeth. I briskly washed my face. I thoughtfully selected my outfit for the day. Adding these small words makes your English sound more natural and descriptive. Let's practice together. I meticulously brushed my teeth. I briskly washed my face. I took an invigorating shower. Repeat these lines with me. Good. Shadowing like this will train your tongue and make speaking easier. Getting dressed is also part of the morning routine. You can say, I got dressed in my business attire for the office, or I threw on some casual clothes for a relaxed day at home. If you want to talk about choosing clothes, you can say, I was undecided about what to wear to the event. Or, I settled on my blue blazer for the meeting. Let's try. I got dressed in my business attire. I threw on some casual clothes. I settled on my blue blazer. Keep repeating until it feels smooth. For more practice, imagine you are telling a friend about your morning in a natural conversation. You might say, This morning was a bit of a rush. I had to quickly get ready and barely had time to choose what to wear. That sounds like something you would really say in daily life, doesn't it? Let's expand on breakfast. This is such an important cultural ritual. In English, you could say, I had a nutritious breakfast at around 8 o'clock, or I whipped up some scrambled eggs and avocado toast. If you didn't have breakfast, you can say, I had to forgo breakfast this morning because I was running late, or I didn't have much of an appetite. Let's practice. I had a nutritious breakfast. I whipped up some scrambled eggs. I had to forgo breakfast. Now let's make it more advanced. Instead of a simple phrase, try saying, I opted for a light breakfast of Greek yogurt and berries. Or, I prepared a substantial breakfast to fuel my morning workout. By adding details, your English sounds richer and more fluent. Here's a practice exercise for you. Think of what you usually eat in the morning. Now describe it in English in a full sentence. For example, my go to breakfast is usually a protein smoothie with spinach and fruit. Or, I often start my day with a strong espresso and a croissant before work. Try making your own sentence and repeat it 3 times aloud. After breakfast, most people begin preparing for their day. In English, you can describe this part of your routine with new phrases like, I headed out the door at 8:30 sharp, or I began my commute to the city office. These are clear sentences that describe daily actions. Let's practice. I headed out the door at 8:30. My commute to the office began. Repeat these lines slowly, then again a little faster. Now let's add more natural expressions. Instead of a basic sentence, you can say, I set off for my first appointment of the day, or I drove downtown for a client meeting. If you take public transport, you can say, I managed to catch the express train, or I hopped on the subway to get across town. Practice with me. I set off for my appointment. I caught the express train. I hopped on the subway. Here's a practice exercise. Imagine your real morning routine and describe how you travel. You can say, I usually take the scenic route to work when I drive. Or, my commute involves a short walk to the bus stop, which I find quite pleasant. Try to create your own sentences and repeat them aloud. On the way to work or school, people often describe the experience. You can say, the rush hour traffic was heavier than usual, or the train was packed with commuters. A more advanced way is, my journey took an extra 20 minutes due to road construction. Or, the subway had a minor delay, but it wasn't a major issue. These small details make your English more realistic and fluent. Let's practice. The rush hour traffic was heavier than usual. The train was packed with commuters. My journey was delayed. Now imagine you are at work or school. How can you describe the start of your day? You can say, I settled in at my desk by 9 a.m., or I attended a department-wide briefing first thing in the morning. These are natural sentences. Try repeating with me. I settled in at my desk by 9 o'clock. I attended a department-wide briefing. To make it sound more advanced, you can add extra detail. For example, I started my workday by prioritizing my tasks for the day. Or, I attended a briefing to get updated on the new company policies. See how those extra words give more life to your sentences? Here's an exercise for you. Think about what you normally do first when you arrive at work or school. You can say, upon arriving at the office, I grabbed a coffee and had a quick chat with my team. Or, when I get to campus, I find a quiet spot in the library to review my notes before class. Try to make your own version and say it aloud 2 or 3 times. During the late morning, people often work or study until lunchtime. This is where we can use some excellent work-related idioms. You can describe this time with new phrases such as, I was completely immersed in my project, I spent a couple of hours doing research, or I managed to check off several important tasks from my to-do list. Repeat after me. I was immersed in my project. I spent hours doing research. I checked off my important tasks. If you want to sound more advanced, you can connect your sentences. For example, I was so focused on my work that I lost track of time. Or I dedicated 2 hours to studying, after which I felt I'd made significant progress. Let's do a vocabulary focus on work idioms. If you are very focused and productive, you can say you are in the zone. If you are starting a new project, you are getting the ball rolling. If you have too much work, you are snowed under. Try using one of these in a sentence about your morning. For example, this morning I finally got the ball rolling on my new assignment. Let's also consider different work environments. For example, describing a day working from home is different. You might say, I started my workday by logging into my company's portal. Or, my morning consisted of several back to back video calls. The challenges are also unique. It was sometimes difficult to avoid distractions while working from home. This specific vocabulary makes your English much more precise. Now let's move to lunchtime. In English, you can say, I took my lunch break at 12:30, or I had lunch with a few colleagues from my department. Another natural expression is, I usually bring a packed lunch from home. Repeat with me. I took my lunch break at 12:30. I had lunch with my colleagues. I brought a packed lunch. If you want to describe your food in more detail, you can say, I had a quinoa salad and some grilled chicken for lunch. Or, I grabbed a quick sandwich and a bottle of juice. If you want to be more advanced, add how you felt. I had a delicious and healthy lunch, which gave me a much needed energy boost. These extra words make your sentences richer. Here's a practice exercise. Think about what you ate yesterday for lunch. Now describe it in English. For example, yesterday I treated myself to sushi from a nearby restaurant, and it was exceptional. Or, I ate a simple salad because I wanted to keep my meal light. Make your own sentence and repeat it 2 or 3 times aloud. After lunch, the day usually continues with work, study, or other important activities. In English, you can describe this by saying, I resumed my work after my break, or I got back to my studies in the afternoon. These are clear phrases that show the flow of your day. Let's practice together. I resumed my work after lunch. I got back to my studies. To make it sound more advanced, you can connect ideas. For example, I returned to my desk after lunch and began drafting a report. Or, I continued studying in the afternoon as I had an exam the following day. Adding these details makes your English sound complete and natural. Here's a practice exercise for you. Think about what you normally do after lunch. Make one full sentence in English about it. For example, after lunch, I typically tackle my most challenging tasks while I feel re-energized. Or, after my midday meal, I take a brief walk before resuming my studies. Try creating your own sentence and repeat it 3 times aloud. In the afternoon, many people describe how busy or relaxed they were. You can say, the afternoon was particularly hectic, or I was working on a high-priority project. If you want to sound more advanced, you can add detail. I was very busy in the afternoon due to an approaching deadline. Or, I worked on a new project that demanded my full concentration. Let's shadow these together. I was busy due to an approaching deadline. The project demanded my full concentration. Repeat slowly at first, then again at a natural speed. Now let's talk about small breaks in the afternoon. It's natural to say, I took a short breather, or I stepped away from my desk for a few minutes. To expand, you can say, I took a short break in the afternoon to clear my head, or I made a cup of coffee because I was starting to hit a slump. These little details show more fluency in your speaking. It's practice time. Imagine you are in the middle of your afternoon. What do you usually do for a short break? Make a sentence about it in English. For example, I usually do some stretching in the afternoon to stay refreshed, or I walk over to the window for a few minutes to rest my eyes. Try making your own version and repeat it aloud 2 or 3 times. Now let's think about afternoon tasks in more detail. You can say, I spent the afternoon responding to emails. I was preparing for an exam. Or I participated in a conference call. These are everyday activities that sound natural in English. If you want to add more advanced detail, you can say, I spent the afternoon catching up on correspondence and organizing my inbox. Or, I joined a video conference to discuss our quarterly goals. Let's practice shadowing these longer sentences. I spent the afternoon catching up on correspondence. I joined a video conference to discuss our quarterly goals. Good. Shadowing like this builds your fluency and rhythm. Sometimes in the afternoon, you might feel tired or sleepy. You can say, I felt my energy levels dip after lunch, or I was tired, but I pushed through to finish my work. A more advanced version would be, I felt a bit drowsy after lunch, so I took a brief walk, or I was feeling fatigued, but I was determined to finish everything on schedule. These expressions sound natural in real life. Now, describe it in English. For example, yesterday I felt the afternoon slump, so I had a glass of cold water. Or, last week I was exhausted in the afternoons because my schedule was so packed. Make your own sentence and repeat it aloud. By the late afternoon, people usually start finishing their work or school day. You can say, I wrapped up my work around 5 o'clock, or I left the office just after 6 o'clock. A more advanced way is, I finished my last task at 5 o'clock and felt a sense of relief. Or, I departed from the office after a long and productive day. This is a great time to use the idiom call it a day. For example, after sending the final email, I decided to call it a day. Let's shadow these together. I wrapped up my work and felt a sense of relief. I departed from the office after a long and a productive day. Repeat them a few times until the flow feels smooth. When the work or school day is finished, the evening begins. In English, you can describe this moment with phrases like, I got home in the early evening, or I arrived home around 6:30. These are everyday sentences. Repeat with me. I got home in the early evening. I arrived home around 6:30. To sound more advanced, add feelings or reasons. For example, I got home feeling drained but accomplished. Or, I arrived home later than usual due to unexpected traffic. These longer sentences give your English more color and fluency. Now let's talk about relaxing after coming home. We have a rich vocabulary for this. You can say, I took some time to decompress after getting home, or I listened to a podcast in the evening. The verb unwind is perfect here. For example, my favorite way to unwind is by reading a book. Other great phrases are to put my feet up and to recharge my batteries. Let's practice a few advanced sentences. I needed to unwind for a while after such a demanding day. Or I listened to some calming music to create a peaceful atmosphere. Practice with me. I needed to unwind after a demanding day. I put my feet up and watched some TV. I listened to calming music to recharge. Repeat slowly, then again at a natural speed. Evenings often include spending time with family or friends. You can say, I had dinner with my family, or I caught up with a friend over the phone. These are common sentences. Let them make them richer. I had dinner with my family and we all shared stories from our day. Or I called a friend to arrange our plans for the upcoming weekend. Here's a practice exercise. Think about your own evening yesterday. Try describing it in English. For example, yesterday my family and I had a lively dinner conversation. Or last night I had a long video call with my best friend who lives abroad. Make your own version and repeat it aloud. Now let's focus on dinner. In English, you can say, dinner was served at 8 o'clock. Or, for dinner, I prepared a healthy meal of salmon and vegetables. To make it more advanced, try, I had a late dinner after I finished up some chores. Or, I decided to order takeout because I wasn't in the mood to cook. Let's practice shadowing. I had a late dinner after finishing my chores. The meal was both healthy and satisfying. I ordered takeout because I wasn't in the mood to cook. Good. Repeat them again with your own dinner in mind. Evenings are also a time for hobbies. You can say, I dedicated some time to reading after dinner. Or I watched a compelling documentary at night. These are natural. To make them more advanced, add details. I read a few chapters of my book to wind down. Or, I got engrossed in a new series on a streaming service. Let's also think about your attitude towards your hobbies. Do you see them as a duty or a pleasure? You could say, I make sure to carve out time for my hobbies, as they are crucial for my well-being. Or on a busy day, unfortunately, I didn't have any energy left for my hobbies tonight. Here's a practice exercise. Think of your favorite evening activity. Now put it into a sentence expressing your attitude. For example, I always look forward to practicing the guitar in the evening. It's my creative outlet. Say your own version aloud 3 times. Sometimes people meet friends or go outside in the evening. You can say, I met up with some friends, or I went for a leisurely walk after dinner. A more advanced version is, I went out with my friends for a special celebration. Or, I took a stroll around the neighborhood to enjoy the cool evening air. These extra details make the sentences feel alive and real. Practice shadowing. I went out for a special celebration. I enjoyed a coffee at a local cafe. I took a stroll to get some fresh air. Repeat them naturally. By the late evening, people usually start preparing for rest. You can say, I wrapped up my personal tasks for the evening. Or, I started getting ready for bed around 10 o'clock. Let's make them stronger. I finished up my responsibilities and felt pleased with my day's accomplishments. Or, I began my nighttime routine after a long day to prepare for a restful sleep. Here's a practice exercise. Think about how you usually prepare for bed. Put it into one long sentence. For example, before turning in, I typically tidy up, prepare my clothes for tomorrow, and do some light reading. Try to create your own sentence and repeat it a few times aloud. As the night comes, most people start to slow down and prepare for sleep. In English, you can describe this with sentences like, I got ready for bed around 11. Or, I went through my nightly routine and turned off the lights. Let's practice together. I got ready for bed around 11 o'clock. I brushed my teeth before sleeping. To make your sentences sound more advanced, add details or feelings. For example, I got ready for bed at 11 after a satisfyingly productive day. Or, I turned off the lights and settled into bed, Feeling calm and content? These small details create a more natural flow. Here's a practice exercise. Think about your real nighttime routine. Put it into one complete sentence. For example, before going to sleep, I make sure all the doors are locked, I do my skincare routine, and I set my alarm for the morning. Try creating your own version and repeat it 3 times aloud. Another natural way to describe night routines is with verbs like change and put on. You can say, I changed into something more comfortable for sleeping, or I made sure my bed was neat before getting in. A more advanced version is, I changed into my pajamas and immediately felt more relaxed, or I put on comfortable loungewear to relax before bed. Let's practice shadowing these longer sentences. I changed into my pajamas and immediately felt relaxed. I put on loungewear to relax before bed. Repeat slowly, then at a natural pace. At night, many people also take time to reflect on their day. You can say, I reflected on the events of the day, or I made a mental note of my priorities for tomorrow. To sound more advanced, you can connect ideas. I took a few moments to reflect on my accomplishments and challenges from the day. Or, I briefly planned out my schedule for the following day to feel more organized. Here's a practice exercise. Tonight before you sleep, try this in English. Say aloud, today my main achievement was, and tomorrow my top priority will be. This practice will not only improve your English, but also help you reflect on your real life. Now, let's talk about how to describe feeling sleepy. You can say, I started to feel drowsy at night, or I was thoroughly exhausted and needed to rest. More advanced versions are, I felt my eyes getting heavy after such a long day, or I went to bed earlier than usual as I was completely drained. Let's practice together. I felt my eyes getting heavy after a long day. I went to bed early as I was completely drained. Repeat slowly and smoothly. A wonderful idiom is to hit the sack or to hit the hay. For example, I was so tired I was ready to hit the sack by 9 p.m. Sometimes people struggle to sleep. You can say, I had trouble falling asleep last night, or I was awake for quite some time. More advanced sentences are, I couldn't sleep at night because my mind was racing with thoughts, or I tossed and turned for a while before I finally drifted off. Here's a practice exercise. If you ever have trouble sleeping, try describing it in English. For example, last night I couldn't seem to switch my brain off, which kept me awake. Or, sometimes if I have caffeine too late, I find it hard to settle down at night. Make your own sentence and say it aloud 2 or 3 times. Now, let's practice telling the whole story of your day from start to finish in one flow. This is where we bring everything together. For example, my day began early with a quick workout, followed by a productive morning at the office. The afternoon was filled with meetings, but I managed to complete my main project. I spent a quiet evening at home with my family and went to bed feeling fulfilled. This is an advanced and natural way to summarize your day. Here's a practice exercise. Now it's your turn. Try to tell your entire day in English in a few connected sentences. Imagine you are telling a friend, speak slowly, then try again more smoothly. By the time you finish describing your day, you'll notice how much English you can actually use from real life. Let's add another advanced skill, using sensory details to make your stories more vivid. Instead of I had coffee, try to describe the senses. I savored the rich aroma of the dark roast coffee before taking the first warm sip. Instead of I took a walk, try I took a walk and felt the cool evening breeze on my skin while listening to the distant city sounds. This technique will elevate your storytelling to a new level. Once you can describe your day, the next step is learning how to compare days. You can say, today was a stark contrast to yesterday, or this morning was far more productive than yesterday's. These sentences use comparisons, which make your English more advanced. Practice with me. Today was a stark contrast to yesterday. My morning was far more productive. Repeat slowly, then again more naturally. Now let's make the comparisons richer. For example, today was much more structured than yesterday, as I had a clear plan from the morning. Or, this evening was more restorative than last night because I made time for myself instead of working late. These kinds of sentences give you both fluency and depth. Here's a practice exercise. Think of yesterday and today. Compare them in English. For example, whereas yesterday was quite hectic, today has been relatively calm. Or, I went to bed much earlier tonight compared to last night. Try creating 2 or 3 comparisons and say them aloud. Another advanced way to practice is to add emotions. Instead of a simple statement, you can say, I went into my presentation feeling confident because I was well prepared. Or, I enjoyed a relaxing lunch with my colleagues, which was a nice break. Adding feelings makes your English sound more human and natural. Practice shadowing with me. I went into the presentation feeling confident. I enjoyed a relaxing lunch with my colleagues. I came home in the evening feeling content after a good day. Repeat them a few times until they flow smoothly. Now let's try storytelling practice. Instead of just listing activities, connect them into a real story. For example, this morning began chaotically because I overslept. Consequently, I had to skip my usual coffee routine and rush to work. I arrived feeling flustered, but luckily my first meeting was postponed. After lunch, things settled down, and I managed to have a very productive afternoon. To celebrate, I enjoyed a nice dinner out and went to bed feeling proud of how I turned the day around. Notice the connections like consequently, but luckily, and after. These words make your English flow. Here's a practice exercise. Try to tell a story about one of your real days, including emotions and connecting words. Try creating your own version and say it aloud. Now let's practice future tense. You can say, tomorrow I intend to wake up early, or my main focus tomorrow will be studying English. More advanced versions are, tomorrow I plan to wake up early in order to get a head start on my work. Or, tomorrow evening I'm going to have dinner with my family to celebrate my brother's birthday. Practice with me. I plan to wake up early to get a head start. Tomorrow, my main focus will be studying. Repeat them slowly, then again with more fluency. Here's a useful exercise. Try to describe your entire plan for tomorrow in English. For example, tomorrow morning I'm scheduled to attend a workshop. Following that, I'll work on a report. And in the evening, I've arranged to meet a cousin for dinner. Make your own plan and repeat it 3 times aloud. Now let's practice past tense storytelling more deeply. Instead of a basic sentence, you can say, this morning for breakfast, I enjoyed some oatmeal with fresh berries. Or, I dedicated the afternoon to carefully reviewing my English notes. Let's add the past perfect tense, which is used to talk about an action that happened before another past action. For example, by the time I arrived at the office, my first meeting had already begun. Shadow this advanced sentence with me. By the time I arrived, the meeting had already begun. By practicing different tenses, you train your brain to talk about time naturally. In daily life, not everything goes as planned. You can describe unexpected events with sentences like, I ran into some technical difficulties this morning, or I misplaced my report. Let's practice. I ran into technical difficulties. I misplaced my report. To make them more advanced, add details. For example, I missed my train this morning because the station was unexpectedly crowded. Or, I accidentally left my homework at home, so I had to explain the situation to my teacher. These longer sentences sound more fluent. Here's a practice exercise. Think about the last small problem you had. Try to describe it in English. For example, yesterday my internet connection was unstable, which made it difficult to work from home. Or, last week I got caught in a downpour because I forgot my umbrella. Make your own sentence and repeat it aloud. Another part of daily life is having short conversations. We often use small talk. For example, how was your day? It was quite productive, thanks for asking. What did you do today? I was in meetings for most of the afternoon. These are simple question and answer forms. To make small talk more advanced, add more details. For example, how was your day? It was pretty good, thanks. I managed to finish a major report ahead of schedule. Or, what did you do today? I was busy with work all afternoon, but I'm looking forward to a relaxing evening. These answers are richer. Here's a practice exercise. Imagine someone asks you, how was your day? Answer in 2 or 3 full sentences. For example, my day was quite demanding. I had back-to-back classes and then a long study session. Now try creating your own answer and say it aloud a few times. Sometimes in conversations, you need to explain problems. You can say, I was delayed because of a traffic jam, or I couldn't complete my work because I was constantly interrupted. To sound more advanced, connect with so and but. For example, I was late because the highway was closed, so I had to take a detour. Or I couldn't finish the report because I was waiting for some data, but I will complete it first thing tomorrow. These sentences feel complete and natural. Let's shadow these together. I was late because the highway was closed, so I had to take a detour. I couldn't finish because I was waiting for data, but I will complete it tomorrow. Repeat them slowly, then again at a natural speed. Another useful skill is describing your feelings when unexpected events happen. For example, Brace, I felt quite frustrated when my computer crashed, or I was relieved when I finished my presentation. To make them richer, add reasons. I felt stressed when I was running late because I dislike being tardy for meetings, or I felt delighted when I completed the project because it had been very challenging. These details help you sound advanced. Here's a practice exercise. Think of one moment today when you felt something strong. Now describe it in English with a reason. For example, I felt mentally tired this afternoon after a long period of concentration. Or, I felt excited this evening about the new book I started reading. Make your own version and repeat it 3 times aloud. Daily life also includes problem solving. You can say, I resolved the issue, or I figured out a solution. To make it advanced, connect the problem and solution. I fixed the technical glitch by rebooting the system. Or I found a solution by collaborating with my colleagues. Practice with me. I fixed the glitch by rebooting the system. I found a solution by collaborating with colleagues. Repeat slowly, then more naturally. By practicing how to describe unexpected events, emotions, and solutions, your English becomes flexible for telling the real story of your day. At the end of the day, people often talk about how their day went. A simple way is to say, overall, it was a good day, or it was a challenging day. For more advanced English, try adding details. For example, my day was excellent because I achieved all the goals I set for myself, or it was a busy day, but I feel it was very worthwhile. These kinds of sentences help you sound fluent and confident. Practice with me. My day was excellent because I achieved my goals. It was a busy day, but it was worthwhile. Repeat slowly, then again at a natural speed. Now imagine a friend asks you, how was your day? You can answer with more than one sentence. For example, my day was great. I had a productive morning, a pleasant lunch with a client, and a quiet evening at home. Another example is, it was a tiring day. I was in back-to-back meetings all day, but I'm satisfied with what my team and I accomplished. Here's a practice exercise. Think about your real day today. Answer the question, how was your day? In 2 or 3 full sentences. For example, my day was quite interesting. I attended an inspiring lecture and later had a fascinating conversation with a friend. Make your own version and repeat it aloud 3 times. Another way to talk about your day is by expressing your opinion of different parts of it. You can say, the morning was a bit slow, but the afternoon picked up, or work was demanding, but my evening was very peaceful. These contrast sentences help you use but naturally. Let's practice shadowing. The morning was slow, but the afternoon picked up. Work was demanding, but my evening was peaceful. Repeat until it feels smooth. Now let's try connecting even more details. For example, today started on a challenging note because of an early meeting, but the afternoon was much smoother since I completed my major tasks, and the evening was restorative because I took time to relax. Here's a practice exercise. Try to reflect on your entire day in one long, connected sentence. For example, my day was packed with appointments, but I felt energized because I met some inspiring people in the evening. Now create your own reflection and say it aloud. Sometimes people share highlights of their day. You can say, the highlight of my day was receiving positive feedback on my project. Or, the most interesting part of my day was learning a new skill at work. These expressions make your English sound advanced and natural. Practice with me. The highlight of my day was receiving positive feedback. The most interesting part was learning a new skill. The most relaxing part of my day was listening to a podcast before bed. Repeat them slowly, then again at a natural rhythm. Now let's practice telling your day as a longer story. Not just a list of actions, but a flowing description. For example, I woke up feeling behind schedule this morning, so I had to rush my breakfast. At work, I was faced with an unexpected problem that made me feel stressed. However, in the afternoon, My team and I collaborated and found a creative solution, which made me feel incredibly proud. In the evening, I celebrated with a nice dinner and went to bed feeling satisfied with how the day turned out. Notice how the story uses connectors like so, however, and which made me feel. Here's a practice exercise. Try telling your own day as a complete story in English. Start with waking up, move through the morning, afternoon, and evening, and finish with bedtime. Use connectors and emotions. Speak slowly the first time, then again more smoothly to build fluency. Another useful practice is imagining conversations about your day. For example, A, how was your day? B, it was good. I had a productive morning, a working lunch, and a relaxing evening. Or a longer version. A, how was your day? B, it was quite intense. I woke up early to prepare for a presentation and was in meetings all day. But in the evening, I had dinner with my family, which was the perfect way to unwind. Practice these dialogues aloud as if you are talking with someone. This will make you more confident in real conversations. By practicing opinions and reflections, you move beyond just describing actions to sharing your experiences. One powerful way to practice is by describing the same day in different ways. For example, the short version, I woke up, went to work, had meetings, finished my tasks, and went home. Then the longer version, I started my day early, heading to the office for a series of important meetings. I felt very productive as I managed to complete all my high priority tasks. After a busy but successful day, I came home, had dinner with my family, and finally went to bed feeling accomplished. Here's a practice exercise. First, describe your day in English with only 5 short sentences. Then describe the same day in a longer way with more details. Try both versions. Another variation practice is changing the tense. Let's take one sentence. I attend a meeting at 10 a.m. In past tense, I attended a meeting at 10 a.m. In future tense, I will attend a meeting at 10 a.m. This simple switch makes your English flexible. Shadow these with me. I attend a meeting at 10. I attended a meeting at 10. I will attend a meeting at 10. Repeat slowly, then again naturally. Now let's practice longer, connected sentences with time words. For example, after I woke up, I reviewed my schedule for the day. Before I went to work, I made sure I had all my necessary documents, or while I was commuting, I listened to an educational podcast. These connecting words make your English sound smooth. Practice together. After I woke up, I reviewed my schedule. Before I went to work, I prepared my documents. While I was commuting, I listened to a podcast. Now let's make them even longer. After I woke up, I reviewed my schedule for the day to mentally prepare myself. Or, before I went to work, I had a strong coffee because I needed to be alert. Practice shadowing these longer ones. Now, another advanced exercise is describing how you felt during an action. For example, after I woke up, I reviewed my schedule, but I was still feeling a bit overwhelmed by it. Or, before I went to work, I had a strong coffee, which made me feel much more focused. These sentences mix actions with emotions, which is how native speakers talk. Practice with me. I reviewed my schedule but felt overwhelmed. I had coffee, which made me feel focused. While I was working, my colleague offered to help, and I felt very grateful. Now let's practice storytelling of an entire day using longer connections. For example, I woke up early this morning feeling well rested. After going through my morning routine, I headed to work and immediately started on a major project. The afternoon was challenging since I encountered a few problems, but I managed to resolve them by the end of the day. In the evening, I came home, cooked a nice meal for my family, and then relaxed with a movie before heading to bed around 11 o'clock. Here's a practice exercise. Try to create your own full day story in English using connecting words like after, since, but, and because. Now let's add another level, imagining different days. For example, on a typical weekday, my schedule is packed with meetings and deadlines. In contrast, on weekends, I prioritize rest, hobbies, and spending time with friends. These comparisons help you practice flexibility. Practice with me. On weekdays, my schedule is packed. On weekends, I prioritize rest and hobbies. For more advanced sentences, connect them with feelings. On weekdays, my packed schedule can sometimes feel stressful. On weekends, however, I have the freedom to relax and recharge, which leaves me feeling refreshed. Practice shadowing. Let's imagine a simple role play. A. How was your day? B. It was good. I had a productive morning at work and a nice lunch with my colleagues. A. That sounds nice. What did you do in the evening? B. In the evening, I went to the gym and then had a quiet dinner at home before going to bed. Now, let's expand this. A. How was your day? B. It was quite demanding. I woke up at 6 to prepare for a presentation and spent the entire morning in meetings. A. That sounds like a long day. How did you feel? B. I felt drained but also very accomplished because the presentation was a success. In the evening, I relaxed with a good book, which was exactly what I needed. Here's a practice exercise. Repeat both dialogues aloud as person B, then switch roles and try again. Now let's try a different role play about unexpected events. A. Did you have a good day? B. It was all right, but I ran into some traffic on my way to work. A. Oh no, what happened? B. There was an accident on the highway, so my commute took twice as long as usual and I was late for my first meeting. A more advanced version. A. Did you have a good day? B. Not particularly. This morning I discovered that a crucial file was corrupted, so I had to spend hours trying to recover it. A. That must have been stressful. Did things get better later? B. Yes, thankfully. The afternoon was more productive. I managed to solve the file issue, had a good conversation with a client, and felt much better by the evening. Practice this dialogue aloud. Now let's practice shadowing longer role plays. Here's one about describing an entire day. A. Tell me about your day. B. Certainly. I woke up early at 7, had breakfast, and went to the office. The morning was intense because I had a major deadline. In the afternoon, I presented my project and then spent an hour on administrative tasks. In the evening, I had dinner at home, watched a bit of a documentary, and went to bed around 11. Now, repeat after me, line by line. This exercise trains you to speak smoothly. Now let's practice asking questions about someone's day. You can say, what time did you start your day? What did you have for lunch? How was your evening? More advanced versions. What time did you get up today, and what was the first thing on your mind? What did you do for your lunch break, and was it relaxing? How did you spend your evening and what did you do to unwind before bed? Here's a practice exercise. Ask yourself these questions in English and then answer them. For example, what time did you start your day? I got up at 7, and the first thing on my mind was the important meeting I had scheduled for 9 a.m. Do this practice daily. Finally, let's connect everything into a role play about a weekend day versus a weekday. A. How was your Saturday? B. It was wonderful. I slept in, had a leisurely brunch with my family, and then did some gardening. In the evening, I met a friend and we went to see a concert. A. That sounds fun. Was it a nice change from your weekday routine? B. Yes, completely different. On weekdays, my life is very structured with work and responsibilities, but on weekends, I have the flexibility to be spontaneous and enjoy my hobbies. Practice this role play aloud. Then create your own weekend versus weekday story. Now that we've practiced describing daily life, let's put it all together. Imagine a friend asks, "Can you tell me about a typical day in your life?" Try a flowing answer. For example, on a typical day, I wake up at 7 a.m. and start by reviewing my schedule over a cup of coffee. I usually arrive at the office around 9. My morning is often consumed by meetings and client calls. At lunchtime, I try to take a real break and eat with my colleagues. In the afternoon, I focus on project work. In the evening, I return home, spend quality time with my family, and then unwind before going to bed around 11 o'clock. Here's a practice exercise. Tell your own typical day in English in one long answer like this. Try to keep speaking for at least 1 minute without stopping. Now, let's try describing your day as if it were a story. For example, this morning I woke up feeling unmotivated because it was raining. I slowly got ready and commuted to work. Luckily, my day improved when I received some positive news about a project. The afternoon was much better because I felt energized and productive. In the evening, I met a friend for dinner and we had a wonderful conversation. I finally came home, read a book, and went to bed feeling grateful. Notice how this story has a beginning, middle, and end with emotional details. Here's a practice exercise. Try telling the story of today in English with a beginning, middle, and end. Add feelings and details. Now let's practice future storytelling. For example, tomorrow I'm going to wake up early because I want to get to the gym before breakfast. Then I'll head to the office for a series of meetings. In the afternoon, I plan to focus on writing a report. In the evening, I'll relax with my family and watch a movie before getting an early night. Here's a practice exercise. Create your own tomorrow story in English and speak it out loud. Let's also try mixing days together. For example, yesterday I finalized a report, today I presented it, and tomorrow I will start a new project. Or, yesterday was stressful, today was successful, and tomorrow will be exciting. These sentences connect past, present, and future. Practice with me. Yesterday I finalized a report, today I presented it, and tomorrow I will start a new project. Yesterday was stressful, today was successful, and tomorrow will be exciting. Repeat them slowly, then again more fluently. Now it's time for one last shadowing practice. I woke up early, went for a run, and had a healthy breakfast. I went to work, collaborated with my team, and completed my main tasks. In the afternoon, I did some professional development reading. In the evening, I had dinner with my family, watched the news, and went to bed feeling content. Repeat this shadowing line by line. And so we arrive at the end of our day together. We've journeyed from the first light of dawn through the challenges and triumphs of a full day, all the way to the quiet reflections of the night. What you have accomplished in this lesson is more than just learning new sentences. You have built a framework for narrating your own life. The true power of a language is not in knowing the words, but in being able to tell your own story. Think of today's masterclass not as a collection of phrases, but as a key. You now hold the key to unlocking the narrative of your experiences, your thoughts, and your days, all in fluent, natural English. Your challenge, starting tonight, is this: take just 2 minutes before you go to sleep. Stand in front of a mirror, or simply speak into the quiet of your room and narrate your day aloud. Don't aim for perfection, aim for connection. Try to use just one new advanced phrase. Describe one specific feeling and use one connecting word we practiced today. This simple 2-minute ritual will transform your relationship with English from a subject you study into a tool you use. I want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you for your incredible focus and dedication throughout our time together. Investing in your language skills is investing in yourself, and you have done that beautifully today. If you are committed to this journey and wish to continue making powerful progress, then I warmly invite you to subscribe to English in Moments and activate the notification bell so you never miss another step on your path to fluency. We are here with you every single day. And to make this a shared experience, I would love to hear from you. In the comments below, share the single most useful phrase you learned in this masterclass. Let's inspire each other and build a community of learners right here. Remember, the distance between learning and fluency is bridged by consistent practice. Every day is a new page, a new story to tell. You have the tools, you have the ability. Believe in the power of your own voice and your own story. I believe in you. This has been Elena from English in Moments. Keep practicing, keep growing, and I eagerly await our next lesson together. Goodbye for now.